With all due honor and praise to the Most High, I worship thee through the divine image of my wives. Amen. Welcome to the Horseman Podcast. This is episode 7 or 8. I believe it's 7. So, thank you guys for joining in. All of those who are on IG and whatever platform you're catching us on. Thank y'all for coming. All my brothers that are tuning in and I'm going to call in tonight, I thank y'all ahead of time. Phone lines might be tied up. We got Killa J calling in, and we're going to chop it up with him. And shortly, probably about 10, 15 minutes. I want to start the show. I hate to start the show. We've been starting the show this week for the past 3 weeks with another death, man. Another death of a black man. Black Rob, a legend. Those of you who are in my age bracket remember Whoa. Bad boy artist, Black Rob. Great artist, man. Had skills. And we lost him. And I talked about it last week. A couple people hit me on my DM after he passed. And, you know, they mentioned the fact that last week I talked about our health as black men. And we got to start taking it seriously, man. This is warfare out here, man. We got to take it seriously. You got to get healthier. You got to go get checked up. Got to do your checkups. Stay in the gym. Stay training. Try to drink water. And water is a hard thing. It's a hard thing for me. But drink a lot of water if you can, as much as possible. And stay positive. Try to clear your mind and your energy and your spirit of all the negativity in the world and all the shit that comes along with life. And, you know, try to stay here a little while longer. Make it through the war. Shit. That's my goal. Make it through. Just get through. You know what I'm saying? Make it to the battlefield. You know, that's your priority. That's what you're responsible for. So other than that, those of you who watched the fight last night, Jake Paul knocked out Ben Askren in the first round. Not surprised, not shocked. I mean, whoever this dude's fight picker or whoever's lining up fights for this dude is a genius. I mean, it's ridiculous. I mean, he's actually fighting people who either refuse to train or don't want to. I mean, anytime you can get knocked out with a straight right, just a jab and a right, like, goddamn, that's fundamentals. That's elementary. And laid his ass out. So shout out to him. Salute. Shot to Jake Paul. I mean, hey, if you're looking for another opponent in the heavyweight division, holla at your boy. I'll be glad to jump in there with you. But other than that, man, today I watched my favorite show, Godfather of Harlem. I love that show, man. You know, people talk about being transgender, and I'm transgenerational. I swear I was born in the wrong generation. My generation is the Bumpy Johnson, the 50s, the 60s. I mean, I just love watching shows about that era and time. And I think it's because of the manhood. I think it's because of the family structure. I think the idea of Bumpy Johnson and his wife and, you know, doing whatever he had to do to take care of his family and navigating the mob and the mafia and holding his own. That is the story I need to see. I'm going to be honest with you. I was a fan of Snowfall. I stopped watching it. I'm trying to stop watching it. I mean, Snowfall should be called No Fall, to be honest. And that's for killing niggas only. Because every show you get like a barrage of black people dying in the most horrendous fashion you can think of. I mean, every show, women, children. It's become porn. It's become trauma, murder, oppression. I don't know, whatever you want to call it, but it's porn. I mean, it's like, where's the background? Give me a background, give me a story, but whatever. I'm going on a tangent in that. Ever since John Singleton passed, Rest in peace to John Singleton. The writing on that show has just been obvious. It's obvious the writing took a downhill turn. So, but go see Godfather. I mean, not go see it, but get Stars or whatever platform you can watch it and watch Godfather of Harlem. Actually, I think it's on Epix. Godfather of Harlem. Support that show. Try to get them back for another 3-4 seasons. I want to continue to get more background on Bumpy Johnson, his relationship with Malcolm X, all that. I think it's a wonderful thing. Yeah, Godfather of Harlem. So today, I actually want to talk about 4 keys to being a horseman, and then Killa J will call in, and we'll talk more about it. But 4 keys to being a horseman, and they're very important. I'm gonna just drop these jewels, and hopefully y'all pick them up. Right? Number 1, who you listen to. Who are you listening to? Who are your mentors? We talk about that on the show all the time. Who are your mentors? Who's guiding you? Who's leading you? Who's training you? Who you listen to. And it's important. If you listen to the wrong people, you'll make mistakes. The more mistakes you make, the shorter your lifespan in this business. Your lifespan period will be. So who you listen to is big. Number 2, are you coachable? Can you be taught? Right? Can you pick up information and apply it? That's big. Can I keep telling you? Do I have to keep telling you something over and over and over again for you to get it right? Do I only have to tell you once and you apply it perfectly? So are you coachable? Are you teachable? Right? 3rd, conscious competence. What's conscious competence? Conscious competence is what you do consciously. It's how you do your job consciously. It's what you think about. You think, react, right? This is what you plan to do. This is what you thought out. This is what you act out. It's what you do consciously. It's what you think. Unconscious competence, number 4. And to me, the most important. Unconscious competence is what you do without thinking. Right? It's what you do without thinking about it. You just do it. Right? Because it's natural. You do it because you've been trained. So you only get conscious competence from 2 things: training and experience. Right? You need both of them to do it well. You need both of them to have a clear understanding and a clear grasp of unconscious competence. If you just have one without the other, you still won't be shit. See, because if you have a whole bunch of experience and no training, then you have a whole bunch of experience at doing the wrong thing, right? You got a whole bunch of experience of being bad at your profession, right? But if you have experience and training, then you have the experience of doing what you're supposed to do when you're supposed to do it. And then on the flip side of that, you can have a whole bunch of training and no experience, right? We were just talking about Jake Paul. You can be wonderful at the heavy bag. You can be great on the mitts. You can be a savant on the speed bag. But if you ain't never been in the ring in a fight, if you ain't never sparred, if you ain't never punched somebody or been punched, then you're not really a fighter. You're just good at those things, right? It's the same thing. In order for you to have unconscious competence, you have to be trained and you have to be experienced. The greatest example I can give you of that in this business is if I walk into a room, I'm automatically, consciously scoping the exits. I mean, that's just elementary. That's anybody in the business knows anything about the business. They know you're looking at the exits. You want to know where the exits are anytime you walk into a room. I don't care what room it is, right? That's conscious competence. Unconscious competence is anytime I walk into a room, I'm positioning myself with the easiest access to that exit. And if I'm walking into a room with a client, I want him to be with me in a position where we have the best access and the easiest unimpeded access to the exit. That's unconscious. I'm not thinking about that. See, consciously, I already know I'm looking for the exits. Unconsciously, my body is already trained. My mind is already trained to put myself in that position without having to think about it. And that's what makes you good, right? If you have to think too much, if you're constantly thinking, then you're missing all the small little things that you should be picking up unconsciously that make you good at what you do. So let's run back through them. Who you listen to, number one. Number two, are you coachable? Can you listen? Can you take in the information and apply it? Number three, conscious competence. And number four, unconscious competence. Those are the 4 keys. And if you train yourself on those 4 keys in this business, you'll be great at it. Over time. It takes time. You don't get to unconscious competence, after a short period of time. You get there from training. And that brings me to another point. Dante Wright, a young black boy. I think I spoke about him last week. A young black kid gets pulled over by the police. From all reports, he panicked. He's only 20 something years old, very young. And he panicked and tried to get away from the police and was shot by a female police officer who had been on the force for 26 years. She was actually training somebody at the time. And she said that she thought her weapon was a taser. She thought her gun was a taser. And even if you watch the video, you hear her say taser, 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 taser. Now, what I just mentioned and what I just talked about in regards to conscious competence and unconscious competence, there's no way in the world, I believe, that she thought her gun was a taser for those points: conscious competence and unconscious competence. You're a 26-year vet on the force. You're a trainer. You're training other people on how to be a police officer. There's no way you don't have the unconscious competence to know the difference between your taser and your firearm. And never mind the obvious points. Never mind, taser weighs different. Taser looks different. It feels different. The texture is different. The trigger is different. Never mind those points. Just pick up the idea on the idea that for 26 years you've been training to be a police officer and you don't have the unconscious competence to know whether or not you have a gun or a taser. My point is this. She does have the unconscious competence, but her unconscious competence told her to kill. That's the difference. That's the difference. When you're talking about all these police shootings of black men, of black boys, and you say, there's no way that these cops intended to do this, and they might not have consciously. Consciously, it might just be a mistake. But unconsciously, they have been trained. They have the experience in their mind of killing black men and wanting to do so, that unconsciously they do it. It takes over. Your unconscious competence. Your unconscious competence tells you to kill. He's a threat. You have to kill it. You have to put it down. They've developed the unconscious competence through no fault of their own, to be honest. I mean, shit, you pay attention to everything else it tells you to kill, right? The world, society, not to mention the training, tells you who the threats are, right? Even a baby can pick up on who the threat is, especially if that baby's been indoctrinated by his environment. We're all victims of our environment. So I think we have to pay attention and teach our young ones, teach our sons, teach our brothers, when you're dealing with the police, understand they have the unconscious competence to kill you. Period. Full stop. They have the unconscious competence to put you down. Because to them, you are a threat no matter what you do, no matter how you play it. So you have to be aware of that when you're dealing with them. You have to be aware of that when you come into contact with them. Especially my young brothers and sisters. Particularly my young brothers. At your age, testosterone is pumping through you. Adrenaline is pumping through you. You're young. You feel unstoppable. You feel invincible, for those of you who have been watching the show or fans of the comic book. You know, you got all that energy and everything's telling you that you could survive anything. You have to train yourself to be consciously competent anytime you deal with the police in any shape or form. Because that's how you're going to make it. That's how you're going to survive. Dr. Khalid Muhammad said, act as if you're behind enemy lines at all times. Anytime you deal with the police, act as if you are behind enemy lines. Right? Name, rank, ID. No sudden movements. Right? Move slowly. Speak clearly. Don't raise your voice. Don't lower your voice. Right? Don't show weakness or fear. Don't be scary. Don't be scared. You know? Speak clearly. Speak in a nice, calm voice. You know, if you feel the need to, yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. Right? Not saying you have to do that. Not saying it's necessary. I do that unless I'm greeted with some form of disrespect. I will say yes, sir, or yes, ma'am. But those are the things. Those are the things you're going to have to learn to teach yourself unconsciously so you don't end up in these situations where these people gun you down, right? And you don't make it home. Because that's the number one priority, is to make it home. Right? Be humble. Be humble, man. All right? The more humble the crown, the longer the rule. Right? It's nothing wrong with being humble. I'm not saying you got to be a punk. I'm not saying you got to be weak or soft. Just be humble. Especially my brothers out there with size on you. All those brothers who like to train big, strong. You are the greatest threat. The greatest threat to these people. I mean, you have no idea. I'll tell you a story. Story time. Horseman story. So I go on vacation. Me and my wife go on vacation. We go to Mexico. We had a layover in Atlanta, and we're walking through the airport on our layover. And there's a cop who's walking behind me. And We can hear, he's in earshot of us. We can hear him. And just out of his mouth, he just blurts out, "Oh, I have to shoot him." And we turned around. We looked like, whoa, who the fuck is he talking about? He's talking about me. Now, my wives are just dumbfounded, in shock. Oddly, I wasn't. And I'm gonna tell you something even more odd. I wasn't offended. I knew exactly what he was saying. I knew exactly what he was talking about. What he did was express his unconscious fear that he felt. And it was so overwhelming that it just came out his mouth. He couldn't even stop himself from saying it. It was such an effect on him. He was so scared. He was so fearful of a possible altercation with me that he just out of his mouth said it. Like, I would have to shoot him. Straight up. I don't even think he knew he said it until it came out of his mouth. That's what you're dealing with out here. Make no mistake about it. They are afraid. They are scared. They are worried. They are fearful of you. No weapon needed. No aggression needed. Just your presence alone is enough of a threat to get them to unconsciously deem you as a threat and feel like they have to put you down. And the reason why, I think it's so important that we talk about this between us, because it's not going to get better. Just keeping it a buck. Like, it's not going to get easier. Like, there's no legislation that can legislate fear out of law enforcement. Right? There's no amount of new training policies that's going to change that. You know how they say, defund the police. That won't change that. If they don't have guns, they'll just use something else. So that's something that we have to live with as black men. And that's just being real. That's just being real. That's something we're going to have to deal with. And we're going to have to learn to overcome and learn to survive and stop ending up in these situations where we lose, lives for no reason. It could be very depressing depending on how you want to look at it. I remember I saw a post, and the post was like, this last week has been the most triggering, depressing, period in time for black men. No, it ain't. No, it hasn't. No, it hasn't. This has been the norm for a long time. So don't start gassing yourself up to feel sorry for yourself. Like I said last week, there's no time for that. There's no room for that. We're going to have to get smarter. We're going to have to get better. We're going to have to train harder. We're going to have to counter their unconscious bias by creating our own unconscious bias. Right? What do I mean by that? That means we're going to have to be so good at countering them that unconsciously we know exactly what to do when dealing with them. And when I say them, I'm not talking about all police. I'm not talking about all white folks. So those of you who be on my IG and be on here, you're racist. That ain't what I'm talking about. Only an idiot. I'm going to say that again. Only an idiot can be racist and judges people by the color of their skin. I don't judge people by the color of their skin. I judge people by the culture they participate in. Right? If you participate in white supremacy and you are a white man, then that's what it is. You're participating in that culture. White supremacy isn't a race. Right? White supremacy is a system of control. So if you're participating, if you're benefiting from that, then that's just what it is. And I'm going to treat you as such. But I got news for you. Negroes can be white supremacists too. I know a lot of Negroes who are white supremacists. So it has nothing to do with your color of your skin. And back to the point. You're going to have to be unconsciously good at being able to check and move in this system, especially moving forward. Moving forward, you're going to have to be unconsciously capable of circumventing the bullshit. Legally, economically, right? Financially. You're going to have to be able to maneuver and get around the shit. Because if you can't and you fall victim to it, then it's a wrap. And it won't be a sympathetic, voice. There won't be no activism. Nobody's coming to save you. You're just going to have to be good at it. You have to train at it. You have to work at it. You have to study. You have to learn something. I don't know if I spoke about this last week. It's a documentary on HBO Max called Exterminate All the Brutes. Exterminate All the Brutes. Take a moment, watch that. And if you can, follow along, take notes, research. I learned a few things. 1919, there was something called the Red Summer. And what that essentially was back in 1919, all the immigrant people, Ellis Island and, the Italians, Irish, Scottish, all these different types of immigrants who came and poured into this country felt like black people were in the way of them attaining the American dream. And in 1919, for a period of about 3 to 4 months, they set about murdering black people at will for no apparent reason. No apparent reason. And this is on the record. You could Google this. You can look it up. 1919. It's called Red Summer. And about, some reports, I'm sure there's more than what was reported, but countless murders, none of which were charged. Nobody went to jail for it. Nobody was convicted for it. And, okay, bet we're going to take that call in just a second. Let me finish this point. But nobody went to jail for it. There was no justice served. Nothing. Random murder. You saw a black person, you killed them. And was celebrated for it. lynchings, women, men, children. This is all on public record. 1919. Exterminate All the Brutes documentary. Never knew about it. Never heard about it in school. Never heard about it on TV. Never heard about it anywhere until I saw it on this documentary. So that's what you're dealing with, people. So when you look on TV and you look at the news and you're saying, oh my God, another black man killed or shot by the police. Understand, this is business as usual. As usual. All right, man, let's take that call from Ro. Big Ro.
What's going on with you?
What's going on, my brother? Good to see you. Let me introduce you. This is my man, Romaine. You know, we done a lot of good work together. We did the AVNs, Greg Lansky, you know, good brother. Some of the best tactical work you'll see in the field. And this is my man. We go all the way back, actually. We go all the way back to when I was working in a club, managing at a point, Gotham. Ro, you remember Gotham?
Yeah.
So
yeah, Gotham. Yep. San
Bernardino, California, working a little club. You know, well, actually, it wasn't little; it was a huge club. But we ran the security for a time for them, and it was good times. So, man, what's good with you?
Nothing much, brother. You know, just trying to make sure I catch up on your podcast, man. You're doing good things, brother. Definitely doing good things. Putting out a lot of good information, man.
Man, I appreciate you, man.
Definitely, man. I was listening to you, man, and to touch on something you said about the police, that story you told about the police in the airport.
Mm-hmm.
I got a similar story for you, man. I was in, you know, I used to work for school police, right?
Facts.
Yeah, Chamonix Unified, and they used to always want to test me with their hand-to-hand combat stuff to see if it'll work, right?
Wow.
Everybody just assumed because it was a big guy. It's like, no, because of how you're trained, right?
Right.
The darker you are, the more aggressive you are. The bigger you are, the more of a threat you are, right? And the thing is, I had to tell them, like, you know, not everybody has my skill set. You know, those moves aren't going to work on me, brother. So, you know, they tried. A lot of stuff didn't work. Some things did, you know, but they were kind of I learned that they were kind of tailoring things off of us, right?
Facts.
Tailoring their tactics off of us. So
right.
It's definitely something to be aware of, right? And I've heard all the comments of a guy like his size, I'd have to shoot him, or they start talking about how they would crush my knee, you know, those conversations, and you just kind of, they're not paying attention to what they're saying. I mean, maybe like you said, unconsciously, but they're not really paying attention to what they're saying to you. They're telling you they're fearful, and they're plotting on how to deal with you.
See, that's
before
the point.
You even, before I even said hello.
Yeah, and that's the point. They're plotting and planning on what they're going to do to you, irregardless of your behavior. And that's what people have to understand. It's not a question. See, they always say the same things. Well, what did he do wrong? You know, he had to do something wrong. No, you don't have to do anything wrong. They've already made the decision in their mind that you are a threat, and in any kind of confrontation with you, they're going to put you down. They've already made that decision. That's not a decision that they came up with. It's not a decision that you earned. It's a decision that they've already made.
It's a control thing. I need to control him right off the bat.
Right off the bat.
Before you figure out.
Right off.
It can be the victim.
Yeah.
I had to call the police because someone broke in my car. Dude told me he was going to run me for warrants. But I called you.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
I called you. And
that's right.
And I work for a police department, man. Like, I called you, brother. Like, this is what we're doing.
Yeah.
You know, so it's a control thing. That's how I see it, you know. So definitely I just wanted to share that with you, man. Because again, they're already geared up for a confrontation. You know, we can get guys that are on your side, my side and yours. You know, if look on your face, you walk into a building where you.
Oh, you're breaking up. You're breaking up.
Oh, can you hear me, brother?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Go ahead.
Okay. Sorry, man. I'm going to try to sneak this in. So what I was saying is, like, you know, if if me or you disagree with the lady at 7-Eleven behind the counter, right?
Right.
Security and the police are already being called just because we disagree on the price. But it's a regular conversation. I'm not going for you charging me extra 30 cents.
Regular,
right?
regular conversation. That's the funniest thing you said that. That's the funniest thing you said that because people don't realize that. I mean, I've dealt with that all my life. I've actually dealt with that all my life. I just talk directly to you. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you know, like much like you. I talk directly to you, one person to another. I'm not beating around the bush. I'm very direct. And, you know, let somebody come in who's 5'10", 120 pounds, right?
Right.
They can have a disagreement. They can knock stuff off the counter, and everybody's going to be trying to tell them to hold on, man, be calm. Be calm. Right?
Yep.
They're going to come to his aid and rescue. They're going to call security and police 10 minutes after he done tore the place up.
They're going to de-escalate. They're going to de-escalate.
Very fast. Very fast.
Yeah, they're going to de-escalate.
But let it be someone like me or you instantly, right? Mm-hmm. It's go time. Mm-hmm. This guy's a threat, right? So, you know, it's just something that you got to be conscious of, man. I had to tell my nephew, he's on the smaller end, but I still had to explain it like, man, you know, they don't see the bright-faced college student that I see.
No.
Right? Great kid, graduated early. They don't see that, man.
No.
You're a drug dealer, criminal, you know, you're on Instagram doing something. That's how they feel, right? They're going to find something on you.
That's right.
So, yeah, but, brother, I've been, just to give you an update, I mean, we had talked about the public safety class.
Facts.
Yeah, so to give you an update on that, I've been working you in the class. The kids are excited, you know, for the time that you're able to, you know, jump in. And you're more than welcome anytime you're free.
It's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah. Yeah. I've been tasked with being a public safety teacher at this high school, and I have to give them a realistic look at the police, you know, fire, et cetera, right? Mm-hmm. But we touch on a lot of the police shootings and things of that nature, and I have to give them a realistic look. I can't say that the police are terrible, and I can't say that they're all great, right?
That's right.
So I've been tasked to kind of walk a fine line with this, you know, based on, you know, the backgrounds that we have. You know, you come in contact with a lot of police, right? Mm-hmm. A lot of like FBI and et cetera, you know, depending on what you're doing, right?
Absolutely.
All kind of public safety servants, you know? Right. So we're constantly having to stop for the last couple of weeks and cover, you know, while I'm trying to cover one public safety entity, I can't because George Floyd is such a big thing, right?
Yeah.
Dante Wright, I don't want
to. They're at a jury right now. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah. You know, and I have to point out certain things, and kids are bringing it up now. They want to have these conversations, you know, and there's a fine line I have to play because, you know, I get to see both sides of it, right? So I have to let them know what I see and how I see it, you know, as honest as I can. Listen, and it's not looking too good for some of these guys out here.
Listen, it's so important what you're doing. I was just talking to a gentleman last week, and we were talking about the rates of black male teachers. And how there aren't any, how there aren't any. So I think it's important that what you're doing, and it's important. That's how we're going to that's how we're going to change things. That's how we're going to move the needle. The way we move the needle is by reaching back and teaching our youngsters how to behave and how to interact and how to move under these situations. Because I think the problem is that we end up trying to teach them awareness of the situation. So you keep pounding them in the head with awareness. This is what's happening. This is what's happening. This is what's happening. But you're never teaching them the tools on how to maneuver around it, how to counter it, how to defuse
you're just
it.
Preaching fear.
Right. You just keep punching them in the mouth with this is what's happening to you. This is what's happening to you. And you don't give them the tools or you don't give them the knowledge to be able to overcome it. And I think that's what we need. And we need more brothers like me and yourself who have been in these situations, who have overcame it. And so we could teach others how to overcome it and how to move without fear. Because it's, like I said earlier, you can't move into it scary. It's a weird psychological thing when you're dealing with predators, right? Predators and prey. Right. It goes all the way back to prehistoric, you know, ages and cavemen, and it's these natural animalistic tendencies that we have when you're dealing with people who look at you as prey and when you look at people as a predator. If you're looking at someone as a predator and you think of yourself as prey, you already put yourself in a certain mindset. So you don't want to be fearful of them. You want to be able to show them the same amount of aggression they show you. And if not, be able to transform their aggression into something else. And that's what we have to do.
Yeah. I get you on that. See, I see it as how you said the predator and prey thing, but I see it the opposite way. Like, they see me as the predator at times. And this is the prey ganging up on, right?
Right.
Using the system, weapons, and tools to, even out the playing field.
Yeah, it's the same aspect of the woolly mammoth is 10 times bigger and more powerful than the caveman. The way he kills it is because he got 100 cavemen. You see what I'm saying? So
right.
You know what I mean? They understand the power and the strength that we possess. They understand what we're capable of more than we do. Right. That's the thing you have to understand. They've been trained on what we're capable of. Whether or not they've experienced or whether or not they see it or not, they've been trained to know what a black man is capable of.
Yes.
Right now,
yes.
whether
what?
Exactly, whether or not we have, whether or not we have the ability to do it, whether or not we have the knowledge to do it, whether or not we've been trained to do it, to them is irrelevant. Like, I know
what they're gonna wake up.
Right, I know what you Negroes is capable of doing, and to me that's a threat, and I'm gonna stop that by any means necessary.
Yeah, absolutely, I agree, bro.
Yeah, that's what we
definitely agree.
I appreciate you calling in, my man.
Absolutely, man. Again, if you ever need me, you let me know, brother.
I got you, brother. Yes, sir. Stay blessed up.
Thank you. You too.
Yes, sir. Yeah, man. That's a good buddy of mine. Real good dude. Like I said, I've known him since I was a child. I've been in this industry. I've been working in this industry, whether you want to call it security or protection, whatever you want to call it, since I was 17 years old. So in some form or fashion, whether I was a bouncer, whether I was a fighter, whatever the case may be, I've been doing this for a long time. I ran security and managed my first nightclub when I was 19. So that's how long me and that brother goes back. He was one of my guys, worked on my squad. Yeah, me and my brother Ruckus, God bless the dead. Me and him ran security for this club, and it was an amazing time. I learned a lot. I did a lot, got away with a lot, but that was a different time. That was a different age, man. It's not like that anymore. You can't do the type of things we did and the things we got away with, fighting every night, and just those days are over. You just ain't doing those things no more. You can forget about it. Now, he mentioned something that's very important. And I said it last show. I said to be ready and be prepared for the George Floyd case, the Chauvin trial. And if I'm saying his name wrong, I don't give a fuck. Excuse me. Be ready, be prepared for a mistrial. Told everybody. I said that a week ago. And they're already prepping you. They're already letting you know, hey, look, this might not go your way. Be prepared, be ready. The question I have is, okay, it's a mistrial. This is the problem with activism. This is the problem with us. And I use that word when I say us. I mean black people. This is the problem. The fact that they feel like you would burn the streets down for a mistrial is the problem. You should want a mistrial. You should be praying for a mistrial. Those of you who understand. If you don't, you don't. You should want a mistrial. Send him home. Please. Send him home. Let him go back to whatever life he thinks he's going to have. Being murdered a man, being murdered a black man on national television, live in front of people, with no regard. Let him go back and, think everything is sweet. That's what you want. That's what you want to happen. Send him home. No protection. No police escorts. No, overnight security. No armed security. Let him go back to being a regular Joe. That should be what you want. When you start wanting that, when you start asking for that, they'll be begging to be charged. They'll be begging for jail time. Please, Your Honor, give me 25 years. No, please, whatever you do, don't let me go home. Keep me. And if you think I'm full of shit, ask what happens in Russia if something happens to somebody who's a part of the organized crime in Russia. Ask Google and research what happens if you were to murder or kill a member of the Yakuza. Research what happened to the gentleman who accidentally killed John Gotti's son. I'm going to say that one more time. Research what happened. Google it. Research what happened to the gentleman who accidentally hit and killed John Gotti's son. Do your own journalistic research. So don't come at me with the activism. What the fuck is activism? What is it? What are you saying? What are you saying? Maybe there was a time. Like I said, I'm transgenerational. That's what I am. I want to go back to the 50s and 60s. Those of you who don't know, those of you who don't read, those of you who don't pay attention to history, those of you who don't study economics, because of what you've been taught and because of what people have indoctrinated you in, 50s and 60s, oh my God, we were slaves and, right? Cotton pickers. No, fool. No. Go back into the 50s and 60s. Black families and black households stayed together at a 85% or more percentile. That's black families. That's your great grandmother, your grandmother, your grandfather. Right? Those are men, soldiers who came back from World War I. Men who opened business, ran business. And if they couldn't open up legitimate business, those are men who ran numbers, created their own economic base. Those are your uncles who had pool halls, right? Juke joints. Those were the men when they walked the streets, they wore a suit. Those are the men who had their own buses, taxis, movie theaters. That's the 50s and 60s. Those are Marcus Garveys. Right? W.E.D. Du Bois, Farad, I'm sorry. Those are 50s and 60s. Elijah Muhammad, Message to the Black Man, Chancellor Williams. Do your research, man. Start researching. Research how you're supposed to behave. Research what you're supposed to be doing and not what they tell you you're supposed to be doing. Like I say it again. Maybe there was a period where activism was cool. Maybe there was a period where you should have been an activist. I don't remember that period. I'm sorry. I respect it, but I don't. That's just being real. I respect it, but I don't. What kind of activism? Not this kind of activism. What kind of activism you talking about? So when I see him on the gram talking about, oh, okay, well, after the verdict is read, we come down and be outside. For what? What be outside for? Come be outside. Come do what? This motherfucker's electric sliding, twerking. Huh? Nah, man. Nah, not doing that. Not doing that. I'm not going out there with you. I said it before and I'll say it again. If I'm on the front line, you can't be on the front line in some booty shorts and heels with me. You can't. Period. They told you in 300 Sparta, you only as good as the man standing next to you. You only as good as the man standing next to you. You only as vulnerable as he is. So if I'm standing on the front line and you got on booty shorts and heels, making it clap in front of the fucking police, really? No. Take your ass to the back. Take your ass to the back and clear the field of the dead. That's what your position is. That's what your position is. Go to the back, tend to the wounded, and help dispose of the bodies. You don't get to stand up here with me. So don't ever, I got him in my DM. Oh, y'all going out to the, no, for what? For what? Nah, we're not doing that. There'll be a time, and when there is a time, I'll be there. Ready. Until that time, I'm going to stick to this chessboard, and I'm going to pay attention. And I suggest all of y'all do the same. There's something called the Hungarian dialect. I think I'm saying that right. I'm not sure. I might be saying that wrong. But those of you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about, right? Action, reaction, solution. Right? They giving you the action. They giving you the reaction. And they giving you the solution. Over and over and over and over again. The same shit. If it was up to me, this man gets a mistrial. He gets acquitted. Nobody will move. Nothing. Ghost town. You want to scare the system? You want to scare the system for real? You want to really scare the system? Do nothing. Say nothing. He gets acquitted, do nothing. Don't even mention it. They ask you how I feel about it, don't even answer the question. How you feel about Siobhan getting acquitted? I don't know what you're talking about. Who? Talking about the dude that murdered somebody on TV. Oh, don't worry. Karma will get him. Karma got it. They be scared to death. They be scared to death. I go back. I'll say it again. John Gotti's son got accidentally killed by a car accident. Nobody moved. After a week of mourning his son, after a week of his family mourning his son, and don't quote me on the exact of a week or however long, and no disrespect to the family or whoever, this is all public knowledge. You can look it up, read up, Google it if you want to. After a certain period of time, the man disappeared and was never heard from or seen again. And no, John Gotti was not charged with the disappearance of that man. And to my knowledge, nobody was ever charged with the disappearance of that man. Come on. It's common sense. I ain't even, and I'm not saying that I promote any type of violence. I'm not saying I promote or encourage anybody to commit any type of violence. I'm just telling you common sense, facts, and perspective. That's all I'm telling you. Common sense, facts, and perspective. Don't fall for the okie doke. When you stop crying, when you stop begging, when you stop expecting something that you ain't never got in the first place. 1919, Red Summer. Let's keep it real, man. Let's keep it real. Let's keep it real. Let's keep it real. If something like 1919 Red Summer, if something like that happened, if Tulsa, Oklahoma happened, if the sharecroppers up in Florida, I think it was 250 lynched, the inspiration for the song Strange Fruit. If all those things happened, how in your right mind are you expecting some form of justice? I tell you what, out of all the lynchings that happened, I tell you what you do for me. You tell me how many men were charged, convicted, and sentenced out of all those lynchings. There's a memorial for all the lynchings that's happened in this country that happened during that period. See, because now they just call them suicides. Now you committed suicide. You picked a tree and chose to hang from it. Yeah, got you. So all the lynchings that they can't say were suicides because they got postcards of the shit, all of those, you run down to me how many of those people went to jail. Don't worry, I'll wait. You ain't getting that. I can tell you right now. So don't sit there and tell me when something like that, with the history of this country, the facts, tell me I should be protesting a George Floyd decision. A Chauvin decision. And I don't know the motherfucker's first name to say his first name. Don't tell me I should be preparing myself to protest a decision from the court from this dude. You out of your mind. That goes against common sense. I got enough common sense to know that irregardless of whether he's convicted or not, there's not enough time they could give him that would make what he did palatable. And I use that word for a reason. Palatable. That means there's not enough time he could be given to where I say, you know what, okay, that makes sense. For what he did, I got you. No. No. The only justice is for him to be snuffed out like he snuffed out George Floyd. Period. Full stop. It's the only justice. That's the only thing to me that would be like, okay, yeah. Cool, justice is served. Moving on. That's the only thing that could happen. And unless that's happening, then it's unjust. It's unjust. I tell people all the time, and, obeying the law. Obeying the law. You have to obey the law. Telling a black man that he has to obey the law is probably the most contradicting, asinine thing you could tell a black man to do. In a system where the law, in the books, you are no more than cattle, you want me to obey the law. Peaceful protest. I remember the Malcolm X speech when he said, they told you Negroes when to come into town and what time to leave. Referring to the March on Washington. Let that sink in. There was a peaceful protest. They told you when to come into town and what time to leave. Right? They had designated areas for you to protest. And that was the March on Washington. That's the March on Washington. They're doing that now. They're doing that now, right outside the courthouse at the Chauvin trial. They're designating areas, getting areas prepared for you Negroes to come act a fool. Come on out. Come on out. Come on out. We're going to electric slide. We're going to dance. We're going to play music. They're getting ready for it already. They're lining it out, telling you where you can be, and don't do that. Don't move there. Don't go there. Don't do that. As a matter of fact, we're going to give you a couple cars to burn. I'm going to give you some old police cars that you can burn. But pay attention. Pay attention. That was an election year. See, that was an election year. That's when they wanted to get a fool out of office. You already got a fool in office. So all that shit that went down last year, that ain't going down. They was trying to get him out of office. So last year it was bricks, pallets of bricks being dropped off, old cars being mysteriously parked so you can burn them. Right? Cops in disguise, breaking windows and shit. That was last year. Antifa, right? You won't have the cover. And mark my words, mark this podcast. Mark my words. That man gets acquitted or there's a mistrial, which is most likely be a mistrial. If you go out there and protest that shit, they are going to fuck you up. So I don't care who's telling you. I don't care who's telling you to come out there. I don't care who's online. I don't care who's a so-called black activist. I don't care who's telling you to come out there and act a fool. Come outside. You got to come outside and do the work. Do not fall for the fuck shit. They are going to fuck you up. There will be no cover of Antifa. Right? There will be no strange bohemian white folks running out there with you. Ain't gonna be none of that. None of that. It'll just be a bunch of young black women and teenage young boys out there to get fucked up. Lambs to slaughter. That's what they setting you up for. Don't fall for it. Don't fall for it. If there's a mistrial, if he's acquitted, expect it. Expect it. Expect it. If you want to do something, if you want to affect change, if you want to move the needle, there's only a few ways you can do it. I don't recommend violence because you cannot win. You cannot win. I don't recommend an armed struggle because you cannot win. There's no winning. You will lose. And I, for one, feel like black men have to get away from this obsession with martyrdom. This obsession to being martyrs. No. We're not doing that no more. We did that in the 60s. Remember? Malcolm, Martin, Huey, the Panthers. Remember? They were all martyrs. Still being martyred. You still got Panthers who are still locked up. Died in prison. They were martyrs. So that didn't work. That didn't work. So we had to do something different. It's going to have to be economic. Right? You got to do something economic. You got to affect their pockets. You got to change their pockets. You have to start investing in black business. You have to start investing in black protection. The real protection force. Your own protection force. You got to start doing that. You got to start being smart. You got to start thinking harder. You got to start thinking better. Right? And I hate to have to, end it on a somber note, man, but when you see the game, it's your responsibility to tell others. When you see the play, it's your responsibility to tell others. And as black men, we got to do that. Stop looking at these athletes. Stop looking at these entertainers. I promise you, they're not going to lead you nowhere. Stop looking at these so-called activist leaders. Stop looking at them. What you expect? What you expect? The fastest way to kill a movement is two ways. division and money. You want to kill a movement? You want to kill an organization? Division and money. And money. More powerful than anything. Money. When your leaders, when your so-called activist leaders are buying $1 million homes, that tells you everything you need to know. Not that your leaders have to be poor, but your leaders are supposed to be funded by the people. And if your leaders are funded by the people and the people are poor, you do the math. You do the math. There's a reason why Huey P. Newton and the Panthers and Bobby Seale, Angela Davis, and which Angela Davis now, she's selling books, making money. Okay, cool, whatever. She deserves it. But there's a reason why those leaders, they weren't dressed in Versace. They weren't buying new Cadillacs. Right? Kwame Ture. Come on. These people died poor. And we're not even talking, the John Henry Clarks, Iva Van Sertima, Francis Cress Welsing, these titans of knowledge that was passed down to us, and we didn't take care of them. Right? You're talking about real. Now, if you want to say activists, these the activists, right? These the activists. These the real teachers. These the real educators. Take care of them. I want to see them with $1 million homes. That's what I want to see. That's what I want to see. I want to see the Honorable Louis Farrakhan in $1 million homes. If he ain't got them already, I want him to have more. Them the ones. Them the people I want taken care of. All these other clowns with Cadillac commercials and all the rest of that jive ass shit, fuck them. Take care of the real ones. All right. I said my piece. Tomorrow's Monday. First day of deliberations on the Chauvin trial. Be cool. Expect it could be it could come back quick. Or they can mistry that shit straight out. But be cool. Don't trip. Rest in peace, Dante Wright. And, everybody else who's fallen victim to police aggression. But this is war. And I don't expect nothing less. And if I said anything tonight that anybody's upset with, that you got a problem with, do something to me when you see me. With all due honor and praise to the Most High, I worship thee through the divine image of my wives. Amen. Good night.